Hey everyone, please excuse my lack of finding a decent background. Honestly, I was just too lazy to set up a decent background. I've been really lazy lately. It's in our state, today is day 8 of our quarantine and we don't know when it's ending yet. As everyone knows, it's a worldwide thing, we all know what's going on. But yeah, I've just been really lazy. Anyway, so I decided today I'm going to do a video on how to keep your clients if you're a stylist and you're moving from one salon to another. I decided to do this video a while ago because I actually recently started working at the place that I'm working at, and I had to go through the same amount of steps to make sure I got my clients to follow me. So I just figured that I'll share that information with some of you guys in case you find it helpful. Especially since as hairstylists we're kind of known for being a little unsettled. We jump from place to place until we find that place that we're happy at. I'm pretty sure a lot of jobs are like that, but I know like it's kind of a known thing in the salon industry. Sorry, I heard something buzzing and I wasn't sure where it's coming from, and hopefully the camera's not picking it up. I'm actually sitting in my brother's studio area right now, so sometimes my phone or something would affect his speakers and I'll just hear buzzing, so that's what I think it is. But hopefully you guys can't hear it because that would be really annoying. Most of my steps are pretty much the same thing. Long story short is basically you want to send out a message to all of your clients. So to me, that's the most professional way to alert your clients that you're moving, so this is the most professional way that I came up with to do so. First things first, just keep in mind that your clients aren't all gonna follow you. Usually that's how it is. Most of them will follow, but there are some who won't. So just keep that in mind. So when someone or if somebody doesn't follow you, don't take that to heart. Don't take it personally. Don't let it get to you. Don't let it discourage you. It's just the way things are. Sometimes moving to a different location, no matter how close you still are, it's just not convenient for everybody. So that does happen, and your client does have the right to not follow you if you decide to move. Just want to put that out there. So basically, if you're leaving a salon, more than likely you are aware that you're leaving before you leave. Whether you're leaving because usually when people leave salons, it's because they're not happy or they just find somewhere where they'll be happier, basically. Unless you're leaving because you're like moving out of town or switching careers completely or something like that. But usually if you're just moving to someplace like not too far, it's because a new place has something that your old place doesn't. So this video is not for people who are like moving out of state, because in that case you would most likely have to just start over with a whole new clientele. This is for people who are just switching locations, like you just move somewhere because you just feel like you'll be happier somewhere else or you'll just be more successful somewhere else. So more than likely you know this before the move happens, so you want to make sure that you have a way to contact all your clients personally. If you have a good relationship with who you're working for at the moment, you can just ask, hey, can I, like when you decide to tell them that you're going to be moving on or whatever, you can just say, is it okay if I have my client's information? That's not always the easiest thing to do. I know for me personally, that's a little too awkward, because every time I left the salon, it wasn't, it's never been on good terms. Not that I left on bad terms, but it's just like, I'm obviously unhappy and that's why I'm leaving. So sometimes it is a little difficult to ask that question. So you always want to make sure that you have your own way of personally contacting them. I know it is awkward to ask a client in your chair for their phone number and contact information, because it does look shady to the rest of the salon. It looks like you're trying to bring that client home with you and work on them at home and keep all of the money. So it's not always the best thing to ask for that, especially if you do that right before you go and then you end up leaving and they're like, oh, so that's why you were taking the number. Now you look shady. So just in case you ever do decide to leave somewhere, or if you are already planning on leaving, it's safest to have them follow you on social media if possible. Nowadays, it's already essential pretty much for a hairstylist to have some sort of online platform. For me, I have an Instagram page that I always ask my clients to follow, so you should do the same, whether you have an Instagram page or a Facebook page or anything like that. Just make sure whenever you get a client and that client is your client, you could be like, hey, can you support me and like me on this page? And this is just generally a good thing to do. Not necessarily for moving purposes, but it's just good to make sure that your clients are following you socially. So the good thing about this is, because of that, you won't need anybody's phone number, because there's always a messaging option on these social media apps. You could just personally message your clients whenever it's necessary for you. if you can't get their phone number. Unfortunately, not everybody's into social media, not everybody's gonna follow you. So if that's the case, then unfortunately you would have to obtain their phone number, and you'd have to find your way to do it. Like, it's different for everybody. It's like some people luckily would ask for your number so you can book an appointment in the future. Sometimes you could encourage your client to give you their number for that purpose. Like, be like, oh, just so you know, if you ever want to reach me directly, here's my number, or can I have your number? But I do admit it is a little difficult to just get a client's phone number, depending on where you work, because sometimes people do get uneasy about you taking your client's phone number. So you're going to have to kind of play it by ear. So that's why I always choose that the social media is the best option if you can. But if not, and you do decide to leave, try and leave on the best notice possible so you can ask your employer, can I have my client's phone number? And when I say your clients, I mean your clients, not just a client. Like someone who books with you and comes to you and refuses to sit in anybody's chair but your own, unless they have to, you know, sometimes it's an emergency and they need their hair done and you're not there and they go to somebody else. But you know when your clients are coming to you, because every salon has those clients who just kind of walk in and they just go to whoever's free, or they just make their appointment but for whoever's available. They don't really care. That's not really your client, but these are for the ones that you can confidently call your own clients, and they would also refer to themselves as your client as well, because you don't want to just be stealing everyone who walks into the salon, because that's stealing, okay? That's stealing. When you're leaving a salon, it is necessary, obviously, to go to another salon so that you can continue to work on your clients. So more than likely, you would already have another place in mind to go to. So if you don't, my advice would just be to find a new job ASAP so that your clients don't have to look for somebody else, because if they have to look for somebody in the meanwhile, sometimes they'll get comfortable with that in-between person. They'll just keep going to that person. It can happen. So you always want to have your second job ready before you leave your first one, so that you at least have a date to give your clients when you're telling them that you've left or that you're leaving. I know sometimes you kind of, like, there's always those situations where you kind of just leave in the heat of the moment. Like, I've done it before where I just kind of left a salon job because I was just not getting along with the owner and we just weren't seeing eye to eye, and then something happened between the two of us and I just decided right then and there I'm not going back. So in situations like that, obviously you don't have somewhere to go right then, but you want to find somewhere as soon as possible, because you want to make sure your clients have somewhere to go before, you know, it's been too long and they have to go to somebody else. So make sure you have another job already lined up, or you just make sure you get one as soon as you can. So next, when you do find a new place to work, I will suggest, if you are a very new stylist, or you don't feel like you're at the point where you know that if I tell my clients I'm over here, you're going to be booked up immediately. If you feel like there's going to be a chance that you won't be, ask the stylist, not the stylist, ask the owner, or even, you know, whatever. Ask the owner if they would be willing to work out a deal with you where you can offer a discount for like the first month you're there or something like that, just to bring clients in your chair. Even if you do feel confident and that people are going to already follow you, it's still good to like offer something, because that's another good thing to tell your clients so that they are willing to travel with you as well. A lot of times, you can get a discount, like just 10% off a service, or sometimes it's something like, say you have a specialty, say your specialty is, I don't know, doing balayage. That's a big thing. So let's say that was your specialty. Actually, maybe not that. That's too expensive to be just discounting. Okay, like for me, for example, like I'm a braider. So I can run a special on braids just because that's my specialty, so I can get people to come in for that purpose. So since you know most of your clients are into getting braids, or I know most of my clients are into getting braids, I could be like, so your first time getting braided hair, you will get this discount. So you could either offer a discount on a service, or just your entire whatever you get, like a general discount, or sometimes it could be something simple like a complimentary deep conditioning treatment or something, you know, a complimentary trim with, you know, something. Just so that, you know, you always want to give something just to make sure that they follow you. You don't have to, but I definitely suggest it. Also because if you're not a booth renter, which means you don't set your own prices, you don't know if the prices where you go to are going to be the same as where you were working previously. So if the prices are a little bit pricier than where you were, sometimes that could be a turnoff to your clients when it comes to following you. So they will be willing to give you a chance if they do see a discount. Like let's say they're used to paying $30 for a haircut. I'm just throwing numbers out there. Let's say they're used to paying $30 for a haircut where you were, and now they have to pay $40. They're gonna be like, oh, that kind of sucks, you know, I wasn't used to paying that much. But then they see their first visit, it's gonna be whatever discount you give. You're like, okay, maybe I'll give it a try because it's a discount. So it automatically seems like it's less. It might still end up being more than what they were paying, but not as much more now that you threw that discount in there for them. And then they'll see where you are, and hopefully they like the atmosphere and everything, and they'll continue to come. So I definitely do recommend to get that worked out with your new employer before you even tell people, hey, I'm here. And the reason I suggest getting all these things done before you even tell them that you're going is because you want to be able to tell them all this information at one time rather than constantly telling them new information like every single day, because then it just kind of seems like you're stalking and begging them to come in. Also, quick little side note, I would never suggest that you tell your clients that you're leaving before you tell your employer that you're leaving, because it will be very unfortunate and awkward for you if your employer finds out that you're leaving through somebody else's mouth. You don't want them to hear that information from anyone's mouth but your own, because then it just kind of seems like you are being sneaky and, you know, shady. You don't want to do that. No matter what the circumstances are, no matter how bad things might be, if you're living on bad terms, no matter what the circumstances are, you just want to make sure that you handle the situation as professionally as you can at the end of the day. So you want to be the first person to tell that person that you're leaving and you're not going to be working for them anymore. You don't ever want to tell your client beforehand and then they come in your chair for their very last service and they're like, oh, I'm sure I'm going to miss this place. Or they say something like, so where are you going to? Because you would think, we'd all have to think that that would be common sense, that your client would know not to mention that when they come in, but you'd be surprised how many people wouldn't pick up on that hint. So even if you want to tell somebody beforehand, make sure they know that they shouldn't mention it in the shop. Because just saying, you know, I didn't tell them yet, it doesn't mean that they're not going to realize that they shouldn't say anything. Not everyone can pick that up, believe me. That's basically everything that you want to do before you send your formal letter of, well, not resignation, because you're not sending that to your clients, that's for whoever. But, excuse me. You want to send either an email or a text message, whatever, but you want it to be formally written. And I know that we become friends with our clients and, you know, we get cool with them and everything, but you always want to keep something on a professional level. So when you're telling them that you're leaving, you want a very professional message to send them out. So you can either send them like a text message. For me, most of my clients, I just texted them if I had their phone number, or I sent them a message through Instagram. But you always want to make sure that you're sending everybody their own individual letter. It can say the same thing on every single one, but please do not send anyone a group message. Don't have a whole group in Facebook Messenger or Instagram. Don't do that. Don't blow up anybody's phone with that. Nobody likes being included in group chats that they don't belong in, or, you know, it just doesn't feel necessary, and don't annoy anyone. That's annoying. Yes, you're gonna have to write the same thing over and over, but that's what copy and paste is for, okay? Okay, so in this letter or this message, you wanna say, first of all, include the name. Don't just say, hey girl, hey what's up, or not mention that they're a person at all. Or don't do something like default, like, hi, valued clients. No, username. Username. And then you can mention that you're leaving, obviously, but don't mention anything negative about where you've worked before. Don't say, I couldn't stand the bad attitudes of those people at that place. I couldn't stand to, you know, slander my name with their work. You know, it's not necessary. Just say something general like, sometimes a change of scenery is good and I decided to move on. I'm no longer working here. This, that, the other thing, whatever. So you can mention that, and then obviously mention your new place, mention where it is, the location is, and by that I don't only mean the address. Like, you can mention the address, of course, but it's always good to name a landmark, because most of the time a hair salon or a beauty salon is not the biggest building there would be. We won't have the grandest sign. I mean, sometimes they are, but generally speaking, as far as I know anyway, they're not huge buildings. You have to look for them. So if you mention what it's near to, it makes it easier to find in your head. And by in your head, I mean, if you leave in your message, you just put the address of where it is, the person's going to look at it and be like, okay, I'm going to just put that in my GPS or in Google Maps eventually when I feel like it. And automatically, the fact that they don't automatically know where it is, it kind of makes it seem farther. And this is a big deal because convenience is a big thing when it comes to location. But let's say that you're right across the street from a Walmart. So you mention located right across the street from Walmart. They'll be thinking, oh, Walmart, I know where it is. And now that they automatically know exactly where you are without even thinking about it, you seem that much closer to them. Even if it's not the closest place, it's just good to know that you're easy to find. We humans generally are not a fan of change, so you always want to make this change seem like the smallest change possible. Also, you want to mention what your hours are going to be, like how your availability would be. I know most of the time we just work Tuesday through Saturdays in most salons, but it's not the same for everybody. So you want to mention what days you'll be working or what your hours are, just so people know when they can book with you next. Just obvious. You wanna leave as little bit of questioning left as possible when they're done reading this. And then lastly, you also want to mention when you'll be starting, which is also why I say you need to have all this stuff, like know where you're going before you send this letter out. So you want to say starting effective April 22nd or whatever, I'll be working at this place, so they know how soon they can book with you. Because you don't want to say, okay, I'm going to be leaving, and then somebody calls you like that night and be like, okay, cool, can you do my hair tomorrow or the next day? And you'll be like, oh, actually I haven't started working yet, sorry. You don't want to go through that, so just automatically say starting this day. Unless you wait until you've already started, then you could be like starting immediately. Just make sure you mention when you're going to be starting. So then that's all like your basic information, and then that's where you want to follow it with, I'd like to offer you this discount for your first time visiting with me, or say if you would like to join me or something like that. Just be like, if you would like to join me, I would love to offer you this discount or this complimentary service of, whatever, so that they have something else to make it seem a little bit more enticing to come find you in your new place. And then another really great thing to do is, this won't apply for everybody, but let's say you move somewhere that offers more services than they had where you used to work. That's a great plus to mention also. Like me specifically, most of the clients that I had to contact were my clients that I worked on at home, because my job before here, I was working at a resort, so I didn't have like clients from there because I only worked on tourists. So my personal hair clients, they came from my house. So I was just doing hair on them. So now where I work here, I can also do nails there, and I can do facials there. So it's good to mention. So I was able to mention, we also, besides doing hair, you can also get your nails done, get facial, get waxing done. We offer all these services. And even if you aren't the one who does all the extra services, it's just good to mention that there's these other options here. So now they know that this is kind of like for my clients, now they know that I'm working at a one-stop beauty shop, basically. Or it's just good to know there's other perks to visiting you. But obviously, if they're coming as your client, most of the time, they should know that they should still get a service done by you. They're not just going to abandon you and be like, oh, cool, I can come and get waxing done, and then just never come and see you again, but come every day for waxing. That most likely won't happen. Most people do know better than that. But it's just good to offer these other perks. So if there's anything that makes where you're working out a little bit better than where you were, it's good to mention that. And it's not a petty thing, it's just, you just want to make your place seem worth the move. Because you just want to make it seem like you're worth following. Because you do want to make sure that throughout your message, it is clear somewhere in there that you're not forcing them. Like, you don't want to say things like, when you come in, or when I see you, or this and that. You want to say, if you choose to follow me, or hope to see you soon, something that's a little less stalkerish. And that's not a big deal the way you word it. Like, not everyone's going to take it as, oh, I'm being forced to come here. But you just want to make sure it's clear that you'll be okay if they didn't follow as well. You don't ever want to make anyone think that you need them. And again, that's not to be petty, but it is good to know that, you're not forcing them to be there. Because like I keep saying, it's their choice at the end of the day. So you want to make them want to follow you. Okay, but honestly, most of the time clients do follow you where you go. Like, clients for the most part, they're very faithful. But, when you build a relationship with them, because when it comes to people's hair, when they find that person who does it right, they usually just don't trust anybody else. But there's always that time when they just don't choose to follow. And it's not usually you. A lot of times it is the location. They just like where they are, or they, as much as they love coming to you, they didn't necessarily think that you were the only person who can do their hair. You know what I mean? And not to make you sound replaceable, but not, that's just the way it is. Not everyone's going to think, okay, this is the one, that automatically means that no one else can handle my hair. It just means that, okay, I found someone, I'm going to stick with her for as long as I can. That's it. That's all that it means. Nothing to be offended about. So more than anything, I just want to make it clear, you don't ever want to harass your clients. Don't spam your clients. Don't send message after message after message reminding them that you moved, or, you know, you don't want to check on them to make sure that they got your first letter. They did. They got it, okay? So if you don't get a response, you don't get a response. And when you first send these letters out, mostly your responses are just going to be something like either, oh, good to know, thanks for letting me know, or wow, congratulations. It's usually not a message like, oh, perfect, can I book a haircut at 2 p.m. on Thursday? No, they're not going to book with you automatically. So and that doesn't mean anything. It just means that they just needed to respond. Or sometimes when the message is as well written out as they are, they kind of assume that you just sent this to everybody, so they don't necessarily have to respond. But it doesn't mean that they didn't get it. Don't assume they didn't get it, or no, don't pretend that you think that they didn't get it, because most of the time that is what it is when people do send messages like that. You don't want to be like, okay, so I sent a message last week telling you that I moved and you haven't said anything, so just want to make sure you know. By the way, like I said, I have a discount, and then 3 weeks later, I'm serious, I have a discount, you haven't been here, I know your roots have grown in. Don't make anyone feel forced to say that. Don't make them feel personally attacked, because then it's awkward for them. You don't ever want anyone to have to tell you that they're not going to follow you, and you don't want to make them feel like they have to lie and make something up, because sometimes that is the case, just make something up. If they're not going to follow you, they're not going to follow you. The choice is theirs for whatever reason it is. We can't get offended, but most of the time they do. Usually they do. So a majority of them will, so keep your head high. So that's everything that I had written down. That pretty much sums up like what you want to do in terms of getting your clients to follow you. If you want tips on like how to actually leave a place, I guess that'll be a whole different video, but there's really not much to go with that one. It just depends on the situation. But this is the most professional way that I know of anyway, that you can ensure that your clients know where you are, and that's the best way that you can get them to follow you if they choose to follow you. So I hope you guys found that interesting and helpful. Hope that helped out somebody, and I hope you guys enjoyed my video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys in my next video. Bye!